Welcome to Titan HST's Business Continuity Today, hosted by Todd DeVoe, where planning meets reality.
Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are at in this fine land. And last week we talked about wildland fire because May is Wildland Fire Month, National Wildland Fire Month here in the United States. And kind of on top of that, I want to talk about drills. So my name is Todd DeVoe. I'm the Director of Emergency Management at Titan HST, and I also teach at the post-secondary level where, well, I love to learn things and share what I've learned. This is what we're doing here today, is just kind of having this discussion about the fire drill. Now, I'm sure you've heard the story that I've told before, but I'll tell it again just because I find it fun. When I was at the Sitch Radio Studios at the old studio, right, not the new ones, and Brian, shout out to you. A fire alarm goes off, and I'm like, well, that's kind of odd. And so I go out to the lobby and the fire alarm's going off and no smoke, no really nothing. No one's really moving. And one of the office manager comes and she goes, I'm going to shut the door. I'm not going to lock it, but because this fire alarm's too loud and it's disturbing us in the office. So I look at her and I go, well, what if there's a fire? And she goes, ha 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 ha. Ha. So we both go back into the office. I go back over and I'm talking to Brian. And I go, hey man, what if there's a fire? He's like, I go, should we evacuate? Because I got like 6 minutes worth of work left to do. And he's typing away and doing that stuff. And I'm like, this is just kind of weird. And then the office manager comes running in. She's like, the third floor is on fire. Everybody needs to evacuate the building. And we did. And it was uneventful in the end. It ends up being a small fire. And because of that, we had to evacuate the entire building. But it got me thinking, do we do fire drills well? Now, in schools, K through 12, we've all gone through fire drills, right? Everybody, the little kids hold their hands, they go out to the space, and the teachers have a clipboard and they check everybody to see if they've been out there, and yeah, everybody's out there. At the college, at the universities, if they have dorms, they're required to do a fire drill a semester. And yep, the students all get out of the rooms and half of them get in cars and leave after that. But they're still the RAs, the residential assistants. They'll go through and check the dorms, make sure everybody's out. And so they do the fire drills. But once we get into the workspace, we don't tend to do fire drills. If you think about it, when was the last time that your office did a fire drill, building evacuation drill? If you weren't going to say fire, we could just build an evacuation drill for whatever reason. And they're very far and few in between. Now, I've shared the story again with Rick Rascola from 9/11, who's been credited for saving just about under 3,000 people's lives because he did fire drills, evacuation drills of the building. And it just got me thinking, why don't we do them here? So how do you conduct a good fire drill? Well, number one, I don't necessarily agree with the idea that they should be spontaneous and that they, at least the first few, should be spontaneous and not planned. You should plan them and let everybody know, hey, we're going to have a fire drill, and get buy-in from your C-suite as well. And make sure that those on the executive level are participating in the fire drill as well, whether it's the president of the university, if you're at the colleges, or if it's the CEO of the company that you're working for, or if you're in a government agency, the city manager. Everybody should participate in that fire drill as well. And then you say, hey, yep, at 12:30, we're having the fire drill. Everybody goes downstairs out the building. You do a check. Now, with Titan HST, if you're using our app, we have some really cool tools that you could use for check-ins and things like this, and some polls and whatnot, things you can use part of your fire drill. So I really highly recommend doing that. And if you'd like to see how that works, please contact us on that. Because it's all about saving lives and keeping track of where people are. I got this statistic, and I'm going to use an English statistic because I talk about America a lot here. But in between 2019 and 2020, there are 242 fatalities from fires, and there were 6,935 non-fatal casualties. And so, if you think about this, do you want that to be your legacy for your organization? Do you want to be a organization that doesn't do fire drills, doesn't go through the process, and then has at the end of the day a fatality on your organization? I don't think you do. Now, the other thing too is, are you using alternative means of egress, right? Are you using the fire escapes, if you will, or are you using the fire stairwells, not the elevators? Um, Sometimes people put stuff in those stairwells, those fire escape stairwells, basically because, hey, it's a big open space. A lot of them are pretty open, and nobody ever uses them. And we can store this here just for a short period of time, and it blocks egress, or sometimes it even blocks the door. And so, when was the last time that you tested those doors on your premise? The other one too is, who's in charge. What I mean by that is, who's the one person that you have, or couple people, I should say, that you have established as being your fire warden, the person who is going to run the drill. Now, a lot of times it's going to come from human resources or your risk department. But if you're a small company, say you're a company of like 4 people, right? Who is going to be the person who is in charge of making sure that the fire drill is done? Or, if you're a large company, who on each floor is in charge to make sure that everybody's leaving the building? The story of Roscola is more interesting. I'm sure I'm saying his last name wrong. If you're Italian, please correct me. All right. On the idea here is, he went into the president's office when the president was on the phone call and said, "Okay, we're doing a building evacuation." The president said, "No, I'm on the call," and he hung up the phone and said, "No, we're doing a building evacuation." Now that takes a lot of gumption right there, because like, here it is. This is the guy who's the most powerful person in your division or in your company, and you hang up the phone and say, "You're coming out the building with me." Sometimes you have to be that aggressive, and I really find some humor and also some moxie in the fact that he did this, to get him to come out of the building. But at the at the end of the day, um, he saved lives by doing these drills. You know, and again, you don't have to be that aggressive necessarily, right? You don't have to go and hang up people's phones, but you have to make sure that they are understanding how important this is and why the buy-in, especially coming from the C-suite. Because what will happen is, if that one person, the president or the CEO of the company, or the VP, whoever thinks that they're above the approach when it comes to these drills, doesn't participate, then it's easy for them they're leading by example at this point. And those that are reporting up the chain are going to say, "Hey, man, if you know this guy isn't going to participate, or this gal's not participating, I'm not participating." Right? Because I have stuff to do too. And this takes time out of my day. 20, 30 minutes I could be being productive for the company, whatever, excuse that they're coming up with. But like everything else, right? We When it comes to game day, right, we're going to play as we practice. Okay. So that means that if a fire does occur, right, if the fire does occur, you're going to sit there and go, "I got 6 more minutes left to type this thing out. I just want to type it out before I leave the building." So think about that. If we can just get people just to participate in those building evacuation drills, right, once a quarter, twice a year, whatever works out for your organization, right? Getting the C-suite to participate and be really excited about it, I think is critical to have a successful build and evacuation plan and exercise. Because again, without exercising, it's just on paper, and if it's on paper, it's useless, right? Unless you could put it. I say the idea of operationalizing it. I know somebody else who was telling me that they like the idea of not using operational because they feel that it seems more tactical, but the idea of actualizing the plan. Um, Actualizing the plan, I kind of like that as well. So as you actualize your plan or operationalize your plan, whichever way it is, making sure that you have a process where you bring everybody involved, get your C-suite involved, all the way down to your brand new intern who is working in the mailroom or whatever they're doing, to get them out of the building in a timely fashion. Again, if you're using the Titan HST app, which I highly recommend, we have programs inside of there that you can use to do polling questions after. You can do check-ins through the app. You can upload your roster onto the app as well. So if you're doing instead of having a paper product, most people carry their phone with them. You can take a look at this, log in, you can get your roster who's in that day, and do your check-in and check-out that way. All sorts of kind of cool stuff like this that can go through the app. Highly recommend it. It's a lot of great resources inside of it. And it also, at the end of the day, helps save lives, right? By doing great fire drills and by doing great practice. At the end of the day, maybe you will be the person who makes a difference in one person's life. And if that's the case, it's all worth it. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for being with us. And please look at Titan HST for all your communications need. Until next time, stay safe and stay hydrated.